Hello, and welcome to the Comic Book Communicast, the official podcast of the Google Plus comic book community. This is issue number 46 for the week of August 20th, 2014. I'm Justin Beeson, and I'm joined by co-host Sarah Evans.
Hi.
Each week we take a look at our pull list and pick the comic that we were most excited to read and then review it here, good or bad. And then in the second half we'll go over any significant issues and news from the past week. So let's get right into it. Sarah, what was your first comic?
My first comic this week was Miss Marvel #7, with writing by... I always forget to open these and actually look at who it is. With writing by G. Willow Wilson, yeah, and art by Jacob Wyatt again. I haven't looked at whether this is going to be a semi-permanent thing on the book with him, because it's the first artist change that the book has had. And it's still pretty good. The colors are great. The art style is interesting. I preferred the first one the first artist that they had, but I feel like it's not doing the book a disservice having him on board. We had our next issue of the Wolverine crossover story arc here, where they find alligators in the sewers and other monsters as well. While the owner tries to basically keep Miss Marvel and Wolverine busy so he can get on with his nefarious plans, like you do. And it was just basically a cute issue. Although I've got to say, cover-wise, if they have one more cover where it's Kamala taking a selfie of some kind, that's going to be one too many. 3 strikes, you're out. We understand that she's a teenager in 2014. It was cute the first time. You got to do something different, guys. Come on.
Isn't that all the teens do?
Some older 20-somethings trying to reclaim our teenness, wishing we were still back in college when life was easy, like to mooch off of selfie culture. But no, it was a cute issue. Wolverine can be kind of hit or miss when it comes to teenagers because he can make a really horrible impression and just be himself, or he can be his best self, and it actually is that pretty cute. And this was the latter because he was falling into a kind of a mentor role with her and was actually being really actually supportive when he found out that she hadn't been doing this long and she was figuring things out too. And at a point at the end of saying, like many people, you can kind of tell when he actually likes another superhero. So I definitely get it. He was grouchy, but not as irritating as I usually find him, which is funny because one of my pet peeves happened this week where I have multiple Marvel titles that both in this case have Wolverine in them, and I know they're trying to play him up big time because they're about to have the Death of Wolverine event happen. But no, it was cute. It wasn't annoying. It was a good issue.
I wonder if after the Death of Wolverine there'll be like 1 month where he's in no books.
That would be really impressive. I would pay to see that. I actually was kind of wondering what the timeline is for the story arc, because we rag on DC a lot for not being able to keep up with things that are happening, like with their different events and different storylines. And at the end of this issue, we see Captain America, Steve Rogers, Captain America, looking as young and blonde and vital as he ever did, talking to Medusa from the Inhumans, kind of hinting at what's going to happen during the next story arc. Looks like she's going to be Miss Marvel's going to be hanging out with Lockjaw a little bit. It's very cute and appropriate because she got her powers from the Terrigen Mists. But there was Steve Rogers, and I was like, that's not what's happening in She-Hulk right now, and many other comics in the Marvel universe. So I think they got their lines crossed a little bit, or they started writing this before they decided that the aging of Steve Rogers was going to happen, or maybe the artist just didn't get the memo. But it wasn't a big thing.
I'm sure it'll all figure out once everything gets taken care of. Awesome. So my first comic. My first comic was The Fade Out. This is The Fade Out #1. So this is the new ongoing from Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, and that's the same team that did Fatale, which just wrapped. And They finally put it all on sale on Comixology, so I picked it all up. So Paul will be happy. Um, so yeah, this is a comic that kind of follows a group of people in like 1940s Hollywood, and it follows a writer, and basically this first issue is him trying to recount like what happened the night before, because there's this big party, and then all this stuff happened, and he finds himself in a strange apartment, which ends up being the lead actress in this movie that they're working on, and she's dead. So the issue, they use that as a way to establish that kind of culture, like, so
Oh, snap.
the studios covering it up, and they're kind of, he gets out of it because obviously they don't have the forensic stuff that they did back then. He doesn't know, if he doesn't think he killed her, but who knows. And they just kind of weave in and out of present and then the night before, and then also like flashbacks to earlier movies and stuff. And the art goes from like color to black and white, and it is really cool. It's a cool like noir detective. I assume it's going to turn into like sort of a detective story. Yeah, very good. The art, I mean, it's Sean Phillips. It's good. If you look at Fatale, it's really good. And the coloring, which I didn't write down the guy's, or I think it might be a female color, but the color, it's really like not vibrant, like deep purples and blues, because it's very dark. Like a lot of stuff happens at night, and so there's a lot of negative space, and the coloring is really nice. So definitely recommend picking that one up. Especially, I mean, who doesn't love a noir story? So yeah. What was your second comic, Sarah?
Well, I think I got in a little over my head with my second one, because I read the solicit for Supreme Blue Rose, and I was like, oh, well, I missed the first one, but the second one will come out. Surely it won't be too hard to pick up where Warren Ellis is left us after the first issue. But after reading issue 2 of Supreme Blue Rose, I almost wonder if it would have been easy to track even if I had read the first issue.
Probably not.
Maybe not. No, I love Warren Ellis. I'm a big Warren Ellis fan. I'll read anything he writes. He hooked me with The Authority and made kind of a lifelong fan of me. I haven't found anything extremely problematic that he's done yet, so that's rare for me with the kind of, I don't know, the kind of circles he runs in. You get like the big names like Alan Moore and Everything is Rape, and it's, there's always some guilty pleasure that writers like to sneak in there when they get really famous. But I haven't seen Warren Ellis do anything really gratuitous, which is why I still am pretty devoted to his writing. It's just it's so intelligent. It's enjoyable the whole time. I have no idea what's going on. I know it involves time travel. That much I've discerned. There are characters, and some of them want to do things. Others are there to provide exposition. I'm really sorry. I am not able to speak very well to this comic. It looks like there's a few prominent female protagonists. One of them named Chelsea. She's a scientist, and she's essentially, I can't tell whether she's reached into the future through her scientific research somehow, like she's found an equation or something that's cracked something, and that's how she's figuring out, that the future essentially has already been written and these are the things that are going to happen. Or because of this one scene in this issue, I can't tell if someone from the future at the end of everything is reaching back to her. But that's what's happening on a few pages. And I'm not really sure. The art is great. It's what the Hinnerkind art would have been if it wasn't so sloppy, by Tula Lotay. I really love the style and the colors. It's like you can see, it's like when a really good artist does a sketch, but they leave in the blue pencil where they formatted everything, and so you can kind of tell how they built the picture. She does that a lot. It looks just like, I don't know, crayons almost in the background, but really artful and intentional. And I really enjoyed the art. I was very entertained by this issue, even if I wasn't quite sure what that was. So I'd recommend it, especially if you think that I'll end it.
Yeah, I read the first one, and it was kind of all over the place. I remember like kind of enjoying it, but I was also trying to cut down on as many books as I can, so that one just kind of got not picking up the next one. But I'll probably give it another go once like a trade's out, so there's a complete storyline and I can see the whole thing at once. And that's kind of what I'm.
That's probably a little better.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do with Trees too, because that one's the same thing. It's just he's doing something, but it's hard to go along for the ride right now when you have no clue what's going on. So yeah, I'm gonna give both of those books another try once the first trade's out.
That's probably good. That was, I don't know, that's just better somehow for indie comics where you've got kind of an ambiguous plot that comes together at the end. Like, I wish I had not been pulling Pretty Deadly the whole time and just gotten it when the trade came out, because it's the same kind of interstitial writing style that is just really fluid and works better as a whole book.
Yeah. Yeah, the only bummer with that is, especially with the creator-owns. I mean, Warren Ellis, Kelly Sue DeConnick, they're pretty large names, but a lot of the creator stuff you want to pick up in single issues because, they need the weekly or the monthly sales to keep going.
Yeah, and you want to support their work.
Yeah. So my second comic was the Multiversity #1. Now this is Grant Morrison's kind of like, I mean, from the way he's making it sound, this is kind of like his swan song for superhero comics for a while. This will be the last thing he's doing, apparently. And oh man, is this a Grant Morrison comic? So it's Grant Morrison, and then this issue is Ivan Reis, but there's going to be a different artist on each issue, I think, because it's going to be 2 bookend issues with, I think, like 10 or 11 one-shots in between. So each one-shot is like a story from each world with the 2 bookends tying them together, I guess. Basically, and all right, okay. I'm going to try and it's kind of hard to go over this because it's going to, so, the whole DC universe, there's the Multiversity. There's 52 different universes or Earths. In the middle, you have like the Rock of Ages, which is where Shazam's wizard is, and then this thing called the House of Heroes, where the monitors once guarded over everything, but they're all dead now. And then outside of that, you have the Source Wall, which is in like Green Lantern a lot, and it's like the edge of everything. So, 1, there's all that. 2, go to multiversity.comics.com, and they have a huge like primer kind of going over all of the elements of this big old multiverse, and they kind of go over some theories of what each Earth could have. And I read the whole thing. It's pretty long, but you kind of need it for this because it's Grant Morrison, and he gets kind of crazy.
Do they have an Earth where nothing changed at all in 2012?
Possibly. I wouldn't be surprised if there was. I mean, because there's an Earth that's like supposed to be our Earth, and there's like the Earth from the Dark Knight Return, Frank Miller's Batman Earth, and then there's like, the Young Justice Earth, and then like there's a whole bunch of stuff. The confusing part to me about this is I thought the whole point of the New 52 was that DC was like all the multiverse. It's too confusing, so we just have one continuity, one everything. But then, now we have Earth 2, and then we brought Earth 3 back into it, and now this. So, it's nuts. This comic opens up on a bunch of close-up panels of lice crawling in a woman's hair. While Morrison has some caption boxes talking about how, like, life will find a way to flourish, even the small little cracks. And
Charming.
it works. It's totally out there, but it works. And then you're introduced to some kid reading a comic book, but the comic book is another world, and that's like kind of the whole point of this. Is some of these worlds, the comic books are the real stories of another world. Like I said, including that our world is one of them. So you have kind of introduced to that concept, and then you jump to this guy named Nix Uaton, who's apparently the last living monitor, and he has he has a partner monkey named Stubbs or Captain Stubbs or something like that, and they get a call for some big evil, so they transport over to Earth 7, and Earth 7 is the world where all like everything's alive, so like the buildings all have monstrous faces, but they get there and everything's destroyed, and there's one hero left called Thunderer, and he's like there's this big old splash page of this alien looking thing that's destroying everything. So then Nick sends Thunderer to go basically call heroes from all the other worlds. And so the last half of the comic is basically the heroes gathering in the House of Heroes, where they find out that this big bad thing's coming that could doom the whole multiverse. And it's kind of them interacting with each other. You see like alternate Supermans. There's a guy called Captain Carrot who's a rabbit. Different versions of Flash and all kinds of stuff. The little baby Justice League, I forget what Earth they're from. That was from like a Superman Batman comic. Yeah, and so they all get together and then they go try and rescue Nyx. And of course the space, because this is Morrison, the ship that they have to use to do this is frozen audio, and to pilot it you have to play like this harp thing to transmit between worlds, and the way to do it is to like change the key of the song you're playing. It's crazy, but it's entertaining. This is Morrison's definitely for me like hit or miss, especially recently. But I mean, at least with this comic, it's out there, but it's coherent enough to follow. Surprisingly, granted, I did go and read that whole Multiversity comics.com to get caught up, and I'm hoping that they also do like, because they do analysis columns for some of the more complex comics, like they do it for Mind Management and Morning Glories, and especially with Morrison, there's a bunch of references to old obscure points in comics that most people miss, and they'll have to be pointed out. So, yeah, it was pretty good though. I liked it. I liked it a lot actually, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this plays out. Oh, and I should also mention one of the Earths that they kind of flash through, or they end up on, where Nyx ends up on, is Earth 8, and it's basically the Marvel Universe. So there's like,
oh my god,
there's a Mr. Fantastic, there's a Hulk, there's a Hawkeye. Like, I mean, obviously they're different, slightly different looks and names, but it's the Marvel Universe.
oh
And I'm pretty sure in interviews Morrison has admitted as much. But yeah, it's pretty fun.
That's funny.
But I would recommend having a drink or something beforehand, so you don't think about it too hard, because I'm sure Morrison's done that and more while he was writing it.
I hear ya.
So what else did you pull this week, Sarah?
It was kind of a light week for me. Just for kicks, I picked up Storm number 2 since I wasn't able to find the first one. And it looks like this is going to be a really good series. I really enjoy the way that they're doing it, because I've been pretty faithfully pulling the Brian Woods X-Men series where Storm is the leader, and I can still say I know almost nothing about her character other than what is on Wikipedia, but like feeling a connection to the character, I really didn't so much. And after one issue of this series, I'm like, okay, so she has needs and motivations, and she, has goals as a person and as a hero, and okay, I really actually like this character because she, you'll just put up on a pedestal. I don't know. This was good. She encountered Callisto, and yeah, well, in the sewers, obviously, because Callisto doing her thing, the Morlocks, and kind of has a, because Callisto should be hours back since End Day. There's like a very short list of people that's happened to, and I don't know most of them, honestly, but I'm pretty sure Callisto's still depowered. But essentially what the gist of it is that Storm's under the impression that she's been kidnapping teenagers to rebuild some kind of Morlock army, and in truth she's helping to take care of these street kids who have all run away from bad situations. And it was really interesting, and it basically culminated in Storm apologizing and helping them clean up their hangout in the sewers, which she just helped to trash when she burst in. But I really liked it, and it looks like the series is kind of dedicated to talking about superheroes' responsibilities as part of the world that they live in, and how Storm is kind of going to be tackling that. And I just really enjoyed that. And the only other thing I got besides that one was kind of unexpected for me, because while I'm aware of Deadpool and I think he's amusing, I don't really follow anything that he's in, like any of his series. But I had to get this issue of Deadpool, the Dracula's Gauntlet one, because they definitely made a fridging joke, and it was hilarious. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Justin?
Oh, can you hear me?
Okay. No, it's pretty great. I mean, oh yeah, no, sorry, I think we have a few seconds of lag. But essentially, at one point, his wife, whose name I still don't know, because like I said, I don't really follow Deadpool that closely, but she gets home, and he is contorted and just stuffed into the fridge, and what are you doing in there? And he says, well, you know, one of my many jerk art. And he threatens to fart on the food, Deadpool fashion. But it's dollars of my money. I think it's earned it. But that was it for me this week.
So, on Storm, was it a one-off story? Because that's kind of how the first issue was.
Yeah, no, it was a one-shot, I'm pretty sure. I don't think we're going to be seeing much more of Callisto. Again, that was a series that had Wolverine in it, the other one that I got, because it was them hanging out in a bar and being cute, actually. Like, I knew they were kind of an item, but Wolverine has dated most of the popular big-name superheroines in the X-Men at one point or another, so I kind of take that with a grain of salt, but they were actually being really cute. It kind of made me sad that he's about to, die. As opposed to being happy. Sorry. But, no, I feel like if there is an ongoing plot, which I'm sure there is. I mean, a major book like this, you've got to build up to it. I feel like they're probably taking the first few issues to try to build some solid groundwork for the character and the direction in which they're going with. Justin?
Okay. Yeah, sorry, you cut out there for a sec. Yay, lag.
Sorry.
So
yeah.
I'm actually all for if creators want to do one shots, because it's kind of refreshing, because the current landscape is 5-6 issue arcs, or in Scott Snyder's case 11 issues. Boom Studios is doing four issue arcs, but yeah, like Moon Knight, Warren Ellis's run that just ended on there, it was 6 one-shots, and the last issue tied into the other ones, but it was still its own story. So I mean, if creators are telling effective one-issue stories, I'm all for it because it's
Yeah.
not
No,
something
I
that
don't
we've
know
seen
how
a lot of.
much you heard before I cut out. Okay. No, like I said, I don't know how much you heard just now before the computer started going wonky, but I'm pretty sure they're just taking the first few episodes to do a few one-shots and really try to establish in short story format what they're going to do with the character of Storm in this particular series.
Yeah. Cool. So the other books, I mean, it was a light week for me, but some of the standouts for mine are Adventure Time's out this week. Always a great book. Um, there's a new book featuring Little Nemo. Little Nemo Returned to Slumberland. This is that, like that comic, and there was a movie that I loved as a kid where, it's this little kid and he travels to a dreamland.
Oh my gosh, you too?
Yeah. Oh, I love that movie. So
High five through the screen. Yes.
yeah. So this was a must read for me. So I'm looking forward to getting into that and seeing how that is. There's a Ninja Turtles annual. This is significant because it has story and art by Kevin Eastman, returning to his creation. New Wicked and the Divine. As far as and Original Sins #5. So this is the wrap up to that series. So of course Ryan North doing the Young Avengers story, but this one also features a short comic by Chip Zdarsky, who is the artist on Sex Criminals. So I'm looking forward to reading that. And then for digital, it seems like it's been a while, but another Knowledge #5 is out. This is the one that Paul and I have talked about, where it's the two guys that kind of know everything and are hunting each other. So I'm looking forward to reading that. So yeah, that was this week's books. Time to get into news. The first item I wanted to go over is there was an article on Bleeding Cool about Marvel, and they've changed some prices for their trade paperbacks. So this is a trade paperback of one story arc, and it's like Thor and there's a couple other ones, but they're going to be $20, which is kind of crazy, because if that's I know the Thor one is 5 issues. I'm pretty sure that's the same price as if you bought all the single issues together, or all at once, and you're actually getting less value because at least the single issues you get a digital copy of it. And I mean, Marvel's come under scrutiny before with their collections, whether it's poor paper quality or their hardcovers are pretty expensive too. I mean, I don't read Marvel in collections at all, and maybe this is something new because all my Marvel comics, you get the digital code too. So if I have the digital code, there's no reason for me to get a trade. Do you have any thoughts on this, Sarah?
Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of ridiculous, and I mean, it's one thing to bump up the price on loose issues, but maybe they're starting to realize that when they do that, more people are just going to wait for the trades to come out, and now they're trying to take their pound of flesh off of the trade paperback side of things.
It's also crazy when you have Image, who is putting out, I mean, I don't know about the second and third volumes, but pretty much all of the first volumes of any of their new series, 5 issues, $10. Granted,
yeah, no, that's great. That's really good, and that's what people need when they're first going to take a chance on a series.
Yeah, and I mean, an Image could charge more because I mean, the majority. It seems like the majority of their series nowadays are selling out. Like they're going to second and third printings, so they could charge more. But they're $10, and then when Marvel comes with this, it's really shocking.
Yeah, that's bad business sense. That's like DC editorial bad business sense. But sorry, maybe I didn't hear if you said or not, but I can't remember. Are they just doing this with the hard copy trades, or are they doing it digitally as well? The $20 thing.
Oh, this isn't hardcover. This is paperback, trade paperback, But I don't know.
Well, no,
about
I mean hard copy.
Oh, I yeah, I mean I don't know about the digital. They usually release them on the day of, so I guess we'll find out. Usually the digital actually collection is probably out because they usually release the digital with the hardcover version. But I don't know about the prices. I haven't compared them.
Okay.
So the next thing is we have a creative change on Superman Wonder Woman. This comic, like, okay, so this was started by Charles Soule, who writes. I mean, it's understandable why he's leaving because he writes a million comics.
A million better comics.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know, that's what like I feel like he did well with what they gave him.
With what he had to work with,
Right.
but
Because you know, I'm sure this comic was heavily editorialized, and it's actually been getting even better with the tie-in to the Doom storyline. And I guess it's understandable why he's leaving after this because the Doom storyline was a lot of work, you know, extra issues plus the annual, and he did all of it. So yeah, he's leaving, and then you have Peter Tomasi and Doug Mahnke taking over. Tomasi, he's all right. Now the artist is I like Doug Mahnke's stuff most of the time. In the past, he's done like Justice League things, but yeah, I mean I won't be following this book. Do you have any experience with Pete Tomasi?
Not so much. I think it's continually interesting that they're putting male creators on a book that's supposed to convey, a male and a female headlining, and also a relationship, hopefully from even perspectives. But this just kind of reminds me of that one really iconic image that they kept putting out around the time where they announced that Superman and Wonder Woman were going to be a thing, where they're both flying in midair, and he's kind of like grabbing all over her like octopus arms, and she's like stiff as a board, just kind of like being there. And essentially that's what this series embodies to me. And I don't know, the creative team changing isn't really going to change the book itself, I don't think, because like you said, this isn't really anything that one creator can do a lot with. There's editorial like right over them with the puppet strings. So, I mean, when I write or when I read a comic, I like for it to actually have good writing, and not it might as well have been written by a bunch of editors who I could care less what they write.
Yeah. I mean, the rest. Well, I mean, yeah. Well, like I said, we'll see. But the rest of the Superman books, like Superman family of books, are improving. I mean, hopefully Tomasi takes it because I don't think we're gonna get some. I obviously haven't seen it yet, but I don't think we're gonna get very, very much good Wonder Woman from the Finch creative duo. So this is gonna be it. And the funny part is I think editorial is the only one on board with this relationship anymore, because even in the other Superman books, both the main book and Action Comics, they're playing with the Lois and Clark relationship as much as possible without actually doing anything with it because they can't. So
Right.
it's pretty funny.
Well, I mean, in the Wonder Woman series with Azzarello, they basically did not have Superman in it, as little as possible. Like, it was her corner of the universe. She didn't interact a whole lot with other heroes. There were a few that like headlined as crossover heroes, but you didn't see anything. And in my opinion, it was probably a better book for it. I feel like until editorial mainly, but I don't know. Yeah, I'd say editorial until they can conceptualize what a good relationship would be like between two characters, not just something that's faddish because they think it would be cool to see, and actually put good writers on it that are going to do a good job writing characters in a real human relationship with each other that is not gimmicky or I guess we're dating, now let's punch some guys, but we're still dating, remember? They're just going to keep striking out.
Yeah, well, like I said, this one I'll definitely give this a chance because Tomasi's done some good stuff in the past. But yeah, we'll see.
Hmm.
Next, we have some TV, couple things from TV and movies. We got our first view of Paul Rudd as Ant-Man in a hoodie and kind of looking beat up, whatever. And then we found out that Adrianne Palicki, however you say her name, got cast as Mockingbird in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So she's no longer Wonder Woman, now she's Mockingbird. I didn't really have anything to say about either of those. It's a picture of Paul Rudd, and I'm not familiar with Mockingbird at all, so I don't really know what the significance of that is. Any thoughts on either of those, Sarah?
Well, I would kind of hope that the Mockingbird thing would lead to Hawkeye showing up at some point, because Bobby's been one of the major influences in his life, and they just have a really cute relationship that I think would be really nice to see them interacting. I mean, even if we can't get her in the movies, that would be great. Good excuse for Jeremy Renner to come to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., even if it's just for a 2-second cameo, I don't know, FaceTime or something, talking to him on the phone. That would be really sweet. I have still not been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I've been told repeatedly by Paul that I should, that it's not boring anymore.
Yeah,
So,
pretty much.
Have you been watching it?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. You can pretty much just pick up the second half of the season, just whenever, right around when Winter Soldier comes out and they start doing that storyline. It's interesting. There's not much in the first half that you really need to watch, I don't think. Maybe the first episode or two that introduces Deathlock. That's about it.
Okay.
Well, yeah, no,
as far as the
really
Paul
good.
Rudd thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to change the subject. But for the Paul Rudd thing, I like Paul Rudd as an actor, so I'm optimistic about any projects he's going to be in, including Ant-Man. I feel like Ant-Man's a little more recognizable to, I don't know, non-diehard Marvel fans. He's a little more recognizable to the public than some other heroes they could have gone with, and that's probably why they chose him. But I'm just not really excited about the Hank Pym side of things, although I'm extremely excited about the possibility of Janet Van Dyne being in the movie, because I know that the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies have this formula that they like to follow, where there's one woman, at least, in every movie who's just a badass, and she's amazing, and she more than assists the main hero. She basically does everything but wipe his ass for him, and she doesn't really get thanked for it, but it's okay because you know that she doesn't need that, and she knows she's awesome, but they're never the main characters, ever.
Right. No,
and I feel like if they had to go with that formula, I would at least want to see the Wasp.
And, if they're going with, obviously, older Hank Pym, if we can get a semi-older Janet. Because Janet's the Wasp, right?
Oh, yeah. No, that's her.
So if we can get a badass older woman in a Marvel movie, that would be pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Also, on the Scott Lang side of things, really hoping we get to see Cassie, because she was part of his origin story for becoming Ant-Man after Hank. So fingers crossed that we get a really cool Cassie cameo.
Yeah, I'm
R.I.P. Stature.
All right, and this last bit of news I picked out just for you, and it's not even really news, but Multiversity posted the other day. Rob Liefeld has an app that you can get on iTunes where you can keep up to date with his latest comics, and he has daily uploads of artwork. So if you hate feet and love pouches, this is the app for you.
Oh my god, that's so funny. I haven't gone into the app itself. I'm not sure if I want to actually go so far as to download it, because I'm pretty sure 99.9% of the people who download this app are going to be doing it ironically and just for the shock factor, because everyone loves to laugh at Rob Liefeld, deservedly so. But wow, that's about time, in my opinion.
Well, every other creator just gets a Tumblr, but, Liefeld needs his own app. So if that's your thing, have at it.
There's an app for that.
I saw that.
If he needs a nap, he needs to just go and lay down. We won't bother him. Oh, that's pretty great.
Oh, ridiculous. So that I think that about does it. Was there anything that we
Uh-huh.
didn't? Anything else you wanted to go over, Sarah?
I don't think so, no.
All right. You can find links to everywhere to find us and all of our episodes on cbcpodcast.tumblr.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/comicbookcommunicast. The audio version is on iTunes and RSS. Links are on the page. Uh, Subscribe, rate us there, and appreciate any shares, likes, plus ones, tweets, whatever. Spread the word. Thanks, and have a good night.
Night.